Athlete Builder back at it. Riley Tejcek today. And Athlete Builder all through 2026 and beyond. We are brought to you and empowered by the EA Institute. More on that later. Right off the bat, Riley, welcome to the show. And if I say on a school playground, what is an item on the playground that you're most likely for kids to be injured?
Monkey bars.
What's something that people wish they had a better of?
Job.
What's the latest you stay up on a work night?
11.
Blank, fill in the blank basket.
Easter.
Country they speak Spanish.
Mexico.
For those that don't know, I did a little bit of homework. I like to be prepared, and I saw on Riley's bio that she was on one of my favorite Steve Harvey shows, Family Feud. So today we got Riley, and those are the questions that she had. She was asked during the speed round at the end. She went, and I think your sister went next, right?
She did. Yep, I went first. This time was a lot better.
This time was better, right? Because you know how the answers are received, right?
That's
When I
right.
saw
That's
when I
right.
saw a basket, I thought a picnic basket. It said blank basket, and people wish they had a better of. I think your sister said wife, or you
I
said
think
wife.
that may have been me, like
That was you,
spouse.
spouse. Yeah,
Yeah. Because they normally want some raunchy questions from time to time.
right. I love Steve Harvey. He's excellent on that show. We're gonna circle back to that as soon as I go through a few things, but everyone should know that we got a real blessing having Riley on today. The bullet points on her bio about how awesome she is. Well, they're pretty significant. I can go in any direction, but she's competing for the Team USA on the bobsled team. Been to World Championships. She's on Family Feud. She won 2023 and 2024 Mrs. Military because she's an officer in the Marines. She played college D1 softball, 4-year athletic scholarship, A10 championship team, female Marine Corps Athlete of the Year. Graduated summa? No, just graduated cum laude from George Washington. What's cool for me is that I'm living in Indiana and she's from Indiana on the north side. So we can go athlete, we can go celebrity, we can go beauty pageant winner, we can go officer in the military. She said specifically, let's talk about everything international, the commander in chief, all the things going on. But though we would like to, today we're going to go in a different direction. But first, Riley, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Anything from my fellow Hoosiers.
Forgot to add also author, right? So if
Yes.
you can dream it, you can be it, written by Riley Tejcek. And a little picture book geared towards kids, want to be inspirational, motivational, show them that they can achieve things. And there's a girl looking in the mirror, and there's a military person saluting back, and of course there's the baseball or softball mitt in back because she played sports, and then there's a little dog. Is the dog like from real life?
So my parents had a dog now. When I was
Okay,
growing up, we didn't have an animal, but that dog signifies what's important in my life now and since I've been growing up. But when I was that age, no, we did not have a dog at the time.
gotcha. All right, so do you care where we go first?
I do not. I'll let
Wow.
you drive the ship here.
I'm driving. All right. Would you rather win an NCAA title or a gold medal for the United States?
A gold medal.
Really? Not
Yeah,
even close?
easy. Yeah, it's not
Easy.
close. It's yeah.
Wow. What excites you more? Deploying with the Marines, being on a bobsled team and competing in the Olympics, or being on stage professionally trying to impact people? Because I see you're going to you speak to folks either virtually or in person. So what excites you more? Getting on stage in front of folks, making an impact, deploying with your unit, or racing for your country down the ice?
That is so hard because they all are so special. I guess what excites me the most, I would say, probably is the deployment, actually, because so many of my Marines and I have prepared and trained for this moment. And it's in that we can see real life impact, real life happen to make the world a better place. Being on stage and impacting people, that stands next to none, but being able to do what we do deployment wise to keep not only our country but other countries safe as well. I think the impact is just so much greater. So I can't not say that. Nothing excites me more than bobsled. However, a 6-month deployment is 6 months full of excitement and being able to use our craft and skill. So it's kind of hard to compare.
There's a little bit of challenging components along with that deployment. It's not all, sunny and being at the
Oh,
resort, surfing and drinking beer, right?
not even a little bit. No, and
Not even a
it
little bit.
really, yeah, it depends where you go. I was in Iraq in 2024 now, and that was not a resort. That was not luxurious by any means. But I think it's more of anything when you tell you exciting, you in the military join to be a part of something bigger than you, and you drawing it like sports. You feel like sometimes you're on the practice squad when you're just training and doing practices, and then a deployment allows you to have real world applications. So the things that you're doing while you're over there is real time impacting events that are happening in history that's being written. So I think being able to relate that, I think, is the more exciting fact because you take reps and reps and reps and reps, and that's kind of your chance finally to put what you have to the test. And then for me, it excited me because it challenged me the most as a woman, as a leader, and through my faith.
So you went right into Marines right after college, playing college softball. I assume you're with being in the Carolinas, you must have gone East Coast, right? Paris Island. You didn't go to San Diego for boot camp.
So I went to officer candidate school. So because I didn't enlist, I went officer route. We all go to the same place, which is in Quantico,
Gotcha.
actually.
What was your welcome to the Marines like? Holy shit, there's no turning back now. And I know I'm excited, but I might be like, what the hell did I get myself into? What was that oh shit moment?
I think everyone has it straight off the bat. As soon as you get there, and whether you fly in, you drive. I because I was in DC, I was able to drive over to Quantico and get dropped off. And as soon as you are out of sight of your loved ones or the parking lot, it's just that shock from the drill instructors of getting yelled at and getting in line and formation, and you're with strangers, and you just get everything like taken from you of just like your phone, your clothes, like comfortable things, and you're all of a sudden in this setting where you're just like, there's no turning back. And I think that's the initial shock that on the officer side and the enlisted side, we want people to have is, hey, you're with us now and you're going to adapt to our principles and our philosophies, and there is no turning back. So I think um, I think everyone really feels it when you get off and you get there and you're like, okay, this is real. And I have to understand that there's no really backing out at this point.
Hmm. Anyone goes through a loss, there's usually like denial at first, and then negotiating and anger and all these different, physical or psychological evolutions they go through. Is there ever a moment you're like, oh man, maybe I made a mistake here, or I don't know I can handle this? Anytime doubt creeped in, and then when it did, if at all, how'd you push through?
Absolutely. I think anyone that tells you doubt didn't creep in is probably lying. I would say almost all of us had doubt at some point. I think that's because we were often put in impossible situations where we actually didn't realize it, but the objective, we were going to fail no matter what. And they were grading us on how we were going to adapt to that failure and how we were going to come up with new plans and improvise and like think on our feet and use creative solutions. So we have what's called leaders reaction courses, LRCs. And in these courses, oftentimes you're not going to hit the objective, but how can you remain calm, cool, and collective? How can you articulate yourself? How can you emphasize the teamwork and position yourself appropriately as a leader when tasks are being done and completed off of your planning? And I think everyone at some point looks down and was like, I didn't hit my objective. I failed. Do I have what it takes to lead Marines in combat? And that's because you're realizing the gravity of what's being asked of you and a job. And I don't think it's necessarily bad to have that doubt because you care so much. It's just, what do you do once that doubt comes in? Do you ask those questions and then be like, that's why I'm going to work so much harder. I'm going to study. I'm going to keep calm and cool. I'm not going to be successful 100% of the time. I'm starting to understand that now. Or do you let that doubt really drive your mental down and spiral in sport and ultimately defeat your mentality and make you second guess your capability? So I don't think doubt is bad. I think it's what you do with it. And I think actually, if you don't have any doubt or any of those thoughts did not ever cross your mind, then you're not going to be an effective leader ultimately because you're not able to care enough because you're not going to be perfect at everything you do initially.
Gotcha. And how many years you been a Marine?
Go almost 7 years active duty. Yeah,
Gotcha.
seven
So
years.
you got to be coming up on 30 here soon. And I'm sure like 16-year-old Riley going thinking about college in 2021 in college and then 22 going the military route. There's been a different Riley evolution along the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about a couple times where you know what, I kind of that wasn't my best moment on the field or in the classroom or with my unit. And so we can talk hypothetically
Yeah.
like, hey, this is how do you react? Do you shake it off? Can you be calm? Can you be collected? Can you breathe and see where you need to go next? Not get too fired up. But talk about an actual instance. Let us know how Riley handled it. And it doesn't have to be perfect because they usually aren't.
Yeah, I would say my overall flaw is I'm very, I'm not gonna use the word emotional, but I have lack of bearing at times. That's a big thing that I was hit on in the military. And I just have my emotion on my face. Like I'm someone who, like literally on my sleeve. And that's what has made me such a great and passionate athlete and passionate person. While I've been team captain several times and while I'm kind of the energy boost that everyone needs. But there are times when if I think things are extremely unfair and unjust, like you're gonna see that on my face or if I'm very frustrated at a situation, normally not just me, but in general, like you're going to see that. I would say the younger self, especially in my early days of softball and stuff, when things maybe didn't not necessarily just not work out for me, but work out with my team. Maybe it was a really bad call, a pivotal call from an umpire, or something that sometimes was out of my control. Unfortunately sometimes would let that show a little bit more than it would. And I didn't realize the impact that my teammates that it would have on them is because they would look to me and when I got frustrated or I got angry, they would sometimes feel that as well. And so in the military, that's something that I try to work really hard on. And one of my biggest critiques or faults, if you will, was that again, same thing. You're such a passionate leader, but when you get frustrated or things don't go well, people are able to see it when you need to be sometimes more stoic and just be okay and not have as much emotion. We want you to be like flatlined all the time. Now, you can argue that that doesn't always make you a person, that makes you a robot, but I think there are times when you need to have a little bit more stoicism, and so that's something that younger me, especially in sport, wasn't the best at, that I've tried to work on and get better, and I've seen a massive improvement between my 2 sports, playing softball and stopping that at the age of 22, and transitioning into bobsled and being able not to let my emotions stack and carry as much to where it impacted the other people around me.
Yeah, yep. A lot of people, me absolutely included, guilty of wearing the emotions on the sleeve. My kids would tell you I go from 0 to 100 sometimes. And I've gotten better at handling that for sure. And one of my workarounds is sometimes I just don't handle it well at all. And then I immediately label what just occurred and why to provide context and then get to build and to actually build some buy-in. Hey, I'm really pissed off right now, and here's why. You can see it on my face. I'm unhappy about X. Now, could I be more calm? I'll be saying this out loud verbally. I could be more calm, but this needs to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to calm down here for a second. And I'm just more talking to myself, but I'll be saying it to the group, the team, the athletes I coach, more my own kids. And this is what needs to happen next. And here's why I'm wound up. I absolutely am, and here's why. So I just label it and it kind of diffuses the situation just by putting a name on it. Hey, I'm wound up right now, and here's why. And then it kind of gives some context. I'm like, all right, so let's still move forward. And so when I do get a little upset, I just label it like that. It doesn't actually make it okay, but it helps them understand and it helps bring it back down. Now, if I'm always wound up and losing my shit, people below you, your athletes, your kids, whoever, they're going to key off you, and you know that. And if they see that you're freaking out, then the rest of the team will be too. Um, it's definitely an art. There's a little bit of science to it, and the more reps you have, you'll find more and more techniques. Why the Marines? You finish softball, you guys are A10 champs, you guys are pretty legit, right? You got a college degree. Why not? Why not the Navy? Why not the Army?
Because like any athlete, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it all in.
Okay.
I don't half anything and I wanna be a part of the best. So the Marines are the best and I don't care what anyone says. I've heard it from several branches. It is what it is. The Marines are next to none. And if you want to be a part of the best organization in fighting force, you're going to be a part of the Marines. The highest physical fitness standards, the highest standards, period, and an overall world recognition of being absolute lethal warriors. And that's what I wanted. And that's what I gravitated to because it scared me when I saw the expectations, when I saw the physical fitness standards, when I saw what a Marine, the word Marine meant to earn your Eagle Globe and Anchor, it's like that's what I was attracted to because it scared me, because it was the best, and because I knew it would take absolutely everything I had to be able to achieve that legacy that other people have laid before me.
Hmm. Semper Fi, Semper Fidelis, always faithful.
Mhm.
What's that mean to you?
I will tell you, there's something about being a Marine that there's like you're always a Marine, and that's just ingrained into your mindset. And so always faithful, and then our three core principles of honor, courage, and commitment, and what that means to our cause and to our nation. You're a Marine 24/7. So even right now, whether I'm in uniform or out of uniform, I'm representing the Corps at all times. And they say that as an athlete, right? Like, oh, you're always a blank, you need to be careful how you're doing it. But as a Marine, it means something. You're less than 1% of the population even serving in the general military. And then even from there, the Marine Corps is one of the smallest portions of that. And so you really have to set yourself apart, and you can almost smell it on somebody is like, oh, you're squared away. There's something different about you. You're kind of a silent killer. So I think always being faithful, and it's semper fidelis, but also this honor, courage, and commitment is just this attitude and just kind of persona that we have 24/7, knowing the gravity of what we do, but also this like pure excellence that we give off, whether we're in uniform or out of uniform.
During OCS, do they have you watch A Few Good Men a few times?
No, there's no movie nights or anything like that.
No Gomer Pyle, USMC,
No, no.
Full Metal Jacket?
No, even though they might reference it from time to time, I will tell you.
Any good Clint Eastwood movies? Hamburger Hill. Oh my gosh, Gunny.
I
Oh,
know.
bummer. What about another phrase? Growing up, East Side, Cleveland. My good friend who's in my wedding, he's four doors down from me. He ended up going the Marine route, and one of the things he told me about early on when he came home was, I want to make sure I say it right, Esprit de corps, right? That's a Marine phrase. Explain to the audience what that means and what that means to you guys.
Yeah, when someone will say something along the lines of like esprit de corps, that's kind of just like going on to like our motto and like our charisma and kind of just our outlook and attitude that we have. I would say what the Marine Corps does really well is we're very motivated. So we're like, oh, we're moto, like this is like our mindset. We're like, yeah, rut, yeah. Like people are like, what did you say? Like, are you a dog? And you're like, no. Like these are just like voices and sounds that I make because I'm motivated. We even respond back sometimes by saying kill, and that people, yeah, they're like, what? And so it's really core, just like ultimately, and the way I internalize it is just taking that motivation that we have to like that next step and just being like, hey, there's nothing we won't do. There's nothing that a hard situation we won't put ourselves in. Like when we do it 100%. We do it freaking motivated. And that's what you hear. There's something about just even like the cadences and the responses and the gut, I'll get it done. I'll figure out a way that the Marine Corps has that is absolutely incredible. We have sometimes the least amount of resources, the least amount of money, and not the nicest things, but we will always find out a way, whether that's duct tape or something else. We're very creative and resourceful, and we figure out a way to have it done. And so I think that exists amongst all of us, and not really a joint suffering, but you're kind of like the runts of the family, but you're the ones that just like always get it done. And so any memes or videos or anything, they'll show like the three branches and then they'll show like the Marine Corps. And we're always just like the ones that whether or not people call us dumb or not, but we're the ones that are like, it's raining and I don't care. I feel nothing. It's warm. It's all hot. This is great. And the Air Force is like covered in like as many umbrellas as possible, right? And all this other kind of stuff. So going off topic, but we have this natural understanding amongst each other that we are the most motivated, and the way we respond and the way we look at situations, we approach everything with enthusiasm. And that's something that I think can't just be taught. It's something that's like ingrained in you, and it's very authentic to the Marines.
Being super motivated and enthusiastic is a bit opposite of that stoic approach they're telling you to be as well, right? So they want you
Well,
motivated and pushing forward, but you also got to keep a cool head about it. So it's usually from when I would work with athletes, I say obviously you want the same thing, whether you're in the weight room or you're working on a fast break or you're running bases, you want to push, but it's also a bit under control and not so haphazard. And I'm not saying that's what you are indicating either, but it's usually some controlled chaos.
100%, but I would say that you can still be motivated and stoic at the same time. I think you can still give an order and a command to everyone and be really calm, like, hey, we're gonna go attack that hill and I want us to be on top and we're gonna do it in the next hour. And people's response to be like, yeah, let's do it, ma'am. And that's still like enthusiastic, but they're still like freaking stone cold killers without being over the top, I guess. But ultimately, I don't need my leaders. I don't need every single Marine to be stoic. I need my officer in charge. I need my people that are executing, giving out the mission and not let their emotions get high. But I need the ones executing it to be freaking motivated. So I don't want to take that from them. If you're the first person attacking that hill and running up towards a machine gun, I don't need you to be stoic. I need you to like do whatever you need to do to like get yourself juiced and amped and like be ready to go and attack that. So that's something that we teach more for the officer side of the house, I would say. So two things can coexist at the same time.
Okay. It says that you're married, thinking about having a kid down the road. Is your husband in the military?
He was, yeah. So my husband was a Royal Marine for 20 years. So he lived in England and he served in the Royal Marines there. The difference is people are like, Royal Marine, what does that mean? They are like a whole nother level. And I'll be the first to say it. I have trained and worked with several Royal Marines, and they are in a league of their own. They are absolutely lethal, but are incredible at doing everything. I have not met one that I have not been impressed with, and we have a really good partnership with the US and England and being able to use each other through trainings and schoolhouses and exchanging of physical fitness exercises and friendly games. And yeah, he ended up getting out, so he was able to move here and be with me and we can start a life in the US. But he definitely has so much knowledge and skill that he's even been able to teach me through my time as a military, but then also having my spouse who was in the military, was an incredible leader, ended up retiring from it as an absolute profession in arms. Being able to kind of help and navigate and be my partner through life is incredible.
Usually, a type A person does not marry or vibe with another type A person.
Yeah, I would say when you're too similar, but we come from such different walks of life. Him coming from England and being just a little bit older than me allows us to have like type A when each other needs to, but also can recognize when both of us need to, someone needs to be in charge or control or prioritize the other one a little bit. But yeah, no, I would agree. But at the same
I
time, I
think you're
think
being
when you have,
sweet here, aren't you? You're being sweet here. Like you know that when you make the bed, he's gonna be judging it, and when he makes the bed, you're gonna be looking at it, right? Or when you guys sit down to eat and have everything's squared away, there's gonna be some competition, you know, flaring up every once in a while for no good goddamn reason, but it's just gonna happen, right?
Yeah, that definitely happens. I will say, I think now that he's out and he's experiencing like starting to experience civilian life a little bit, he's chilled down a little bit. But yeah, there's a way the bed has to be made. There's a way that you fold blankets. There's routine and there's structure where he holds that a little bit more than I do, and that leaves the house. And so I'll walk away and I'll come back and he like redid it the way he wanted to do it. And I'm like, you know what? Like it's good to go. Like that's good, but I've actually adapted to it because I respect him and I love him for it. So yeah, there are things that I've definitely adapted that he does and vice versa.
You didn't walk the dog correctly. You're on the wrong side of the road. You went too fast or not fast enough. You didn't hold true to your macros. You're getting out of line. You're losing discipline. How
Yeah,
about
there's different ways.
now? I watched a little bit of that Family Feud. Oh, you have a sister and your parents. What's it like? Are you guys able to mesh with the rest of the world that isn't all in? Like you're all in playing as a D1 athlete, then you're all in as an officer, you're all in as an athlete for the United States.
Yeah, I would say that's
It's all or nothing all the time.
yeah, and that's just how I know. And I think it's very interesting when you meet people that aren't that way. And I've been a part of sport and military where majority of people are that way. They're all in, they're full committed. So there's been times when stepping out of kind of my comfort areas, I've gone to different like places and spoken and met different people. And for people not to be all in or a lack of commitment drives me nuts and I don't get it. And I'm like, what do you mean everyone's not like this? I don't understand. And so what I've realized is I've been a part of populations that sometimes are the top 10%. And those are the people that I've been surrounded with, collegiate athletes, Team USA athletes, and then the military. These are the top percentage of people in terms of motivation, in terms of commitment and dedication. And so to be in different areas where people aren't like that, I'm like, oh, no wonder so many people crave like Navy SEAL doctrine, right? And like the military movies and like admire that like leadership principles that the military and sports have because they don't have that and they recognize the level of excellence that it produces. So I've been trying more and more to see other parts and express and talk and speak to other groups of people and try to just share with them some of those little nuggets and stuff that I do think can make a big difference. But ultimately, we are products of our environment and what we grown up with. And that's just how I was taught. So I don't know any different. And I can't fault or blame someone necessarily that was brought up in a way that didn't breed those things. So I think what you get to do is as an adult, you get to reshape, refocus, and see how you want to attack life. And I get along better with people that are all in. I'll just say it. It is what it is. And if not, I want to help get you there if that's something that you want to do.
A couple things. Nick Saban once, or not once, I listened to him speak, and one of the things he said is that underachievers really don't like being around overachievers, and overachievers don't like being around underachievers, right? People want to be around people that are like-minded so they feel better about themselves, or they're more empowered to do what they want to do. And if you're committed to sitting around smoking pot, okay, good chance most of your friends are sitting around smoking pot, right? For someone so driven, and it sounds like it's been like that for a while, not just the last 7 years in the Marines, but it must have been before that. Plus, I imagine you probably play travel sports that helps you prepare for college sports, and we can get into the pluses and minuses of travel sports. But usually, and I'm no psychologist, I'm not like some licensed shrink or anything like that. But people that are achieving at an early age, either they're surrounded by a whole family of achievers, or there's some kind of gap. Like maybe they didn't have attention, or parents weren't around, or didn't have resources, and or you'll see plenty of people that come from poverty, so they're trying to make money so they can get their family right. If you look back to the young version of Riley, or you're talking to people on stage because you've done that, and some people are younger and they're trying to build that level of commitment and discipline. Talk about how you evolved that over the last 10 plus years, and what's your advice for others that are trying to build it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will take it from what can you do now, right? Because I again, like I said earlier, you can't really you're a product of your environment. It is what it is when you grow up. There's some things that you don't have control over. But once you hit 18 plus, I do think that you're in control and there's not excuses that can exist anymore. So when I'm talking to people and people say, I want to be more disciplined. Oftentimes you hear like, I want to lose weight, I want to be more into fitness. Like, how do you do this? I don't understand. You do pull-ups and you do this, and that's so great. I would say the hard part with people is getting that initial commitment, honestly, is speaking your goals out loud is step one, which is really easy to do, right? People can speak and give you lip service all day long. Like, that's great. But there is something and there is power in speaking your goals out loud and saying it to other people. The next step is creating a manageable plan that fits for your schedule, that's not going to overwhelm you, but that's going to allow you to be pushed, but still committed to the cause. So I'll give an example. It's January, what, 7th. Majority of New Year's resolutions all run around the same. And as they say, by the time Valentine's is up or something, it's like all of them are like out the door and gone. And no one really remembers at the end of the year. A lot of times that's because people straight away do things or wanna lose weight, they go from, like, 0 to 100. They're like, "I'm gonna cut back all on this. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna work out every single day." And it's just, like, not attainable for what it is that they're looking for. And so I think when people are looking for discipline, they are something inside of them that, like, drives and wants a result. They've spoken that out loud, they've communicated, they're ready to take that actionable step, but their plan is never gonna survive. Their plan's not gonna survive first contact or anything that comes their way. And so what I try to drive people saying is, like, there's micro decisions that are made every single day that you can control that actually are easy to do that build habits. And these micro decisions are something that seems so relatively small, but plays such a big deal over time. For example, Riley, what does me having to do with wanting to lose weight and be disciplined having to do with me making my bed every day when I wake up? Well, it's the brilliance of the basics. And there's books that have been written on that, but like something like that. I wake up, I make my bed. I've accomplished something that day, regardless of what happens. If I have a terrible day, everything hits a fan. I woke up and the first thing that I did was I woke up and I read my bed, or I read my bed. I made my bed and I accomplished something. For me, be rooted in something else. Like I'm rooted in reading my Bible in the mornings. That's my routine. So no matter what, I was in touch. I set my day straight. Like perfect. I can't read my Bible for an hour every day. That's just not realistic, even if I wanted to. But I can commit to spending 5 to 10 minutes in quiet time in the morning by making that harder decision of, hey, I'm going to put my phone down and I'm going to do that. those are two examples of very micro decisions that will increase and build your discipline over time, which will then bleed over into other aspects of your life of that you're trying to lose weight. Because if you're able to do attention to detail, you're able to take an extra 2 or 3 minutes to do something that might seem minute at the time, but will create like resilience almost, will create goal settings, will do these things, you'll be able to see it replicate and happen over time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I just the basis of it is like I think people have goals and desires and stuff, but people want the quick answer, and then it's just not going to happen. You can't just snap your fingers and expect a quick solution. People spend way too much money on plans and exercises and different things, like even like I hate to say it, but like these weight loss drugs and all this kind of stuff, right? People are like I want a result, I want it now, and I want it easy. And if you're really looking to build resiliency and discipline and being able to achieve something that the top 1% of people has, you're going to have buy-in, and it's not an easy fix. It's going to cause some chaos by making hard decisions and changes that need to happen effectively that ultimately are going to be things you don't always want to do.
Yep. I think the only way the all in or not at all approach works is when it's only exactly that. People say they're all in, but they're not. So the only time you are really all in is when you go to OCS. Like there's no not getting up when they tell you. There's no not eating when they tell you. There's no not doing anything when they tell you. That's all in. No one else's lives, even athletes, aren't as specific and regimented. It gets more and more severe as a pro. But even then, you still have choices. You can still go out drinking. There's no drinking on base during OCS. So if you know that it's impossible unless you're completely in that all or nothing environment, you got to make peace with the atomic habits approach, James Clear, where if you're going to start a new habit, make sure you let people know, you write it down, and the habit takes no more than 2 minutes to start, is what he would say. And you keep going on that for a while, and we improve what we measure, right? So you keep measuring how many days in a row did you do this, and then at some point you ask yourself, where does the habit need to evolve to? So if you have the discipline, and then you have that Kaizen approach of always improving, then that little 2 minute habit becomes a 3 or a 5 or a 10 or a half hour habit, and then you keep building from there. Whenever it's a shorter approach or an easier approach, you then solidify that you can't do the long game. You can't build habits. You just reinforce that you only look for, try, attempt, and typically fail the short term ones. That's all you keep doing. You just keep reinforcing that habit. And the second Friday, to your point, after the first of the year is National Quit Day in the United States. The second Friday. So that's coming up because the first was last week. Today's the 7th, right? So the 9th is in 2 days. So by the second Friday is National Quit Day. And by Valentine's Day, it's like 100% for New Year's resolutions. When there's that approach where, hey, man, we want to win. And a lot of times it's life or death, not on the softball field, but in a Marine conflict, it can be life and death. And there's mistakes that occur because everyone's fallible. How do you allow, because you talk about faith being a big thing, how do you let Christ into your life in those moments to remind you that you deserve some grace and that you are enough?
I would say that goes to the basic foundation of who I am and why I'm here. So I've been a Christian for since 2017. I redevoted my life to Christ in college, and I made that decision. And he's with me, and he's been a part of every decision and step that I make. He's with me in the mornings, he's with me in the hard times, a quick prayer, all this kind of stuff. So when things get hard, especially in the military, or in sport, or whatever it is, he's just involved and he's just with me. And there are times when certain decisions feel catastrophic, I would say, and certain mess ups, right, can have extreme massive implications. But I remind myself that ultimately, like, I'm not fully in control. And there's a peace that's called shalom peace, a peace that surpasses all understanding, that sometimes will you have to just sit with you. If I don't understand why this happened, I don't know what's gonna happen next, but God, Lord, I understand that you're in control, and I'm gonna allow the situation to kind of give itself over to you. I can't be anxious about this. I can't lose sleep over this. What has happened, and all I can do is look and respond to it and help make sure that what's happening next, I'm approaching with humility, with humbleness, but also giving grace and love to those who need it. So I think that's just an approach that has come with a lot of practice and repetitions and how I do it. That's my power of pause sometimes is just I'm gonna take a second, I'm gonna pause And I'm just going to ask God and the Holy Spirit to just come into this place or this conversation so I'm able to articulate appropriately. But I would say that ultimately, the Lord is with me and someone that I'm talking to quite frequently. It's not only when things go bad is this then when a conversation happens. It's kind of fluid throughout my day or anytime that I can think of it, which I try to make minimally at my meals. That's the easiest way to go about it.
One of my clients that I work with and coach, he's the basketball coach at my old high school. It's a Jesuit school in Cleveland. And we were talking recently, and I simply asked, I go, because I'm always hunting, looking for weaknesses, things to address and improve. And I just asked him, what makes you anxious? What makes you nervous about your team, about what's going on, about your job? And he thought there for me. He goes, man, I don't really get nervous. I go, come on. And he's like, nah, maybe a little bit of anxiety here and there. And I go, is that just ego, dude? Like everybody gets nervous about some things. And he goes, I don't know what it is, but I just really try really hard. If whenever I fail, I know that God has me. And I was like, dang, that's it. He goes, I just try my best. And when things don't go right, I know Jesus still has me and I'll be okay. And I'm going to try to correct this immediately. But that's his approach. And it was so simple. And I was like, oh man, I should have had that dialed in personally a little bit better. So it was cool how my client ended up teaching me something that day. So I want to relay that to other folks.
Yeah, easier said than done. Easier said than
Yeah,
done. I think it's a daily decision to sometimes relinquish control, which is also termed as like obedience. And obedience is the understanding of like, Lord, like your will over mine. And I'm just here and I'm a vessel. And again, yeah, I'm going to do the best I can. But sometimes there's things that I don't have control over and there's nothing I can do about it. And for the generation that we're in right now, that's very difficult because we have so many more assets. We have so much at our fingertips. It almost feels like we have more control over situations. And when something goes awry, it's our fault. So I think, again, his perspective, and that is it's a daily decision to allow that and allow Christ to like be involved and to not take that anxiety. And it speaks about that over and over and over again in the Bible is like not having that fear and anxiety and doubt because, hey, like I got you. And that might not mean that having your back is it's going to work out the way you want it to. Can I get like a hello from everyone who's ever experienced anything, right?
right.
Hey, it doesn't mean you're going to win the gold medal. It doesn't mean you're going to make the Olympic team. It doesn't mean that your like unit's going to go straight, like great, and your plan is going to be flawless, but it just means that like overall in a long term in ways that you may not understand and some things get revealed over time, you're good and you need to trust in it. And so I think, to be honest with you, I think the world needs that mindset in Jesus more than ever, where we're going and the shift that we're seeing in the culture. I think people are craving that. I'm seeing more and more athletes be more open and vocal about their faith, especially with the increased like responsibility and expectations of our younger athletes that are feeling that. And I love where it's going, and I hope more and more people can adapt that approach.
I hope so too. That's going to be tough. Usually people only change their habits when they're systematic about it, set up support, they're really inconsistent and disciplined, or something really shitty happens, right? So I'm an alcoholic. I'm driving around. I run over a kid. I go to jail. Get out of prison. I never want to drink again, right? Yes, something bad happens, right? Or your parents are diabetics because they're so obese. All right, that's not for me anymore. So unless something really bad happens, people really need to decide and commit, and so it makes it tough. And I'm looking over like there's only 24 hours in a day, and I'm as driven as the next person, but you're writing books, you're competing on the USA team, you're an officer in the military, you have a husband, you probably have a vacation or two, you're speaking and you're doing podcasts. Like how does 2026 look in terms of how and when and where and timing of everything? Like do we have a whole wait staff just taking care of everything? My goodness,
You
is money just flowing over there that everything's just lined up because you're doing so much. And in the football terms, if you have two quarterbacks, you have zero, right? If you have two leaders running the exact same show, you got problems. Usually something usually has to be a priority. And obviously your full-time job is a Marine. And I get that. But how are we wrapping all this together in a year's time? What's
Yeah,
it?
I love that you said that because believe it or not, the answer is probably going to be surprising. I'm slowing down in 2026. I have
Okay.
been running full speed. and sacrificing sleep, family time, priorities, right? If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. But ultimately, I wanted to accomplish certain things. I turned 29 next week. A big 30 was a big number of, hey, here's all these things I wanted to do. I know. Before I turn 30, here's all these things and goals I want to accomplish before I turn and I pivot. And I think a big part of it was, hey, I said big goal. I wanted to write a book before I was 30, was able to do that. I knew I had a limited time for sport to be able to achieve certain things before my body just, wasn't going to be able to hit the things and standards that it needed to do. Throughout my time in the Marine Corps, so far I knew in my younger years I wanted to deploy, I wanted to get out, I wanted to go to as many bases and jobs as I could, and volunteer and take all those opportunities when it was just either me or just me and my husband before we're going to introduce a family. And so 2026 actually is a year of, hey, I need to pause a little bit. I noticed this because traveling hasn't been as fun anymore. I just went to Italy a couple weeks ago and I realized that like it lost that like spunk that like you're going to Italy, like, oh my goodness, right? It was kind of like, yeah, I'm just it's whatever. And I'm like, okay, I need a backup here. I've been traveling way too much. I've dipped my hand in way too much. I want to sleep. I want to be home. I want to be with my husband. I want to go to the grocery store. Like things that you're just like, whoa, like what? And so 2026 for me, to answer your question, is the year of slowing down, reprioritizing, but minimalizing. I'm going all in on the family front. My husband and I, that's the big goal is like, hey, this is our year, Lord willing, to get pregnant and start to prioritize a family. We've done a lot of the things that we wanted to do, and now we need to maybe prioritize something else. I ended up retiring and stepping away from bobsled. Was right there, would have loved to make the Olympic team, but wasn't ultimately got outworked and performed by my teammates who are far better than me and way more deserving. And so dropping that pack of being a professional athlete that I've done my whole life. And that's mentally, yeah, it's something I'm still struggling with, but being like, hey, you don't have to work out, you get to work out. And I signed up for a high rocks, I signed up for a half marathon and stuff that is still like, motivating, but not something that's going to like cripple me that like I have to get this done. I have to compete. That's like one of the main things. And then ultimately stepping back and it's like, what do you want to do? What is making you excited? And instead of just like, what's the next big thing that you're achieving? Because I think sometimes that's how I had a mindset is like, wait till I do this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this. Actually enjoying the simple things in life, time, a slow morning, a weekend where you have nothing planned and you allow space for things to come as they go. Say yes to things that I've been saying no to a lot and limiting and being protective over your time. And so ultimately, there's a lot of people out there that want to take your time. And I didn't realize how time is our most valuable resource up until recently. Saying yes that I was a yes girl and not saying yes to everything, but also have the ability to say no. And it's been crazy. So I've actually had a slower start to 2026. A lot of plans that I think that I want to have, I've actually kind of took a step back from and was like, you know what, we're gonna see. So there's not nearly as much as I had in the past 3 years. 3 years I was hooking and jabbing and scheming and plotting and doing. And now I'm kind of in a little bit more of a reflective mode and maybe not as passive. I'm still looking for things. I'm still right all into it, but I'm not on the hunt to make things happen as much right now. I'm kind of a little bit in receive mode to slow down and enjoy the things that I've worked hard for.
Seems that you might, I hate to put words or labels, but you seem to be a little bit competitive. And when people compete and win anything, that's part of their identity, gets woven in there. And so the two ways I kind of address what you just went through with athletes or individuals, when they say they want to do something, I have them go through the 7 levels of why. And I'll say, well, why do you want to do that? And they'll say, like, I'll say, why do you want to be in the USA bobsled team? And you'll say, well, it's important for me to compete for my country. And I'll say, well, why is that important? Well, I still want to be an athlete. Well, who cares? Why is that important? Well, I feel like my body can still do some things. Okay, but who cares? Why is that important to you? So 7 or 8 of those iterations in, you get to find out the real reasons behind doing things, the little reasons that stack up, but also the big reasons that are kind of interwoven with your identity. When I find people with a really shallow whys, whatever their goals are, they usually die pretty quickly. But if it's like, hey, my whole family's everybody in my family has been in the military. I'm going to be in the military. It's kind of in your identity. You're going to be in the military in some way, shape, or form. So the deeper the whys, the more powerful. And then our mantra with Athlete Builder is win today. That's every day you wake up with the different levels of abilities. You might be more tired, less tired, better fueled, better hydrated, more or less stressed. And if you're a competitive person, there are plenty of things to win as long as you're staying true to yourself. So if things that you want to win are your Bible study time, your time with your husband, your time in, hiking in national parks to explore nature, crushing it at your job and your main relationships, that's a full day. Like if you want to be competitive and you have those priorities, then that could be as challenging as any kind of Olympic athlete. You're just saying yes to some different activities and different people. When you say yes to be an Olympic athlete, you say no to a lot of other activities and a lot of other people, right? Which is fine. When you say I'm going to be a Marine, well, there's weeks where you're absolutely gone to boot camp alone or OCS alone, or even when you deploy, right? So you're saying yes to some things and no to others. But as long as overall you're saying yes and you're trying to win the day at your main priorities, it's going to be sustainable and you're going to feel like you're on the right path. I remember times I'm in college, I'm saying yes to plenty of booze and plenty of late night Taco Bell. So you can get out of balance too. So, but I find that when athletes have their identities interwoven with what they're doing and they approach it like that and they give them some grace, then they got a shot with sustaining that,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, what you just said took me a little bit to realize, but when I say yes to one thing, it's automatically saying no to 10 others.
right?
And at what point are you like, oh my gosh, these 10 other things actually are now more important than this one thing? And it depends on the person. It depends on, your other priorities and other things you have going on in life. And so, yeah, that's just something that I've realized and I've taken a step back on. So actually saying no to that allows me to say yes to 10 other things at the moment. And even though these might seem small in nature, it's really refreshing, it's rewarding, and it's a different change of pace that sometimes people need.
It's the saying no to all the things you like, so you can say yes to the few things that you love, right?
Mm.
And when you say a lot of yeses to a lot of things that you like, usually one big thing that you love kind of loses out. It's eliminating all those distractions. So career wise, you still have years left, right? And it says here you're hoping to make it to major. It's major in the Army is Oakley. Is that the same in the Marines?
Yep, oh 04.
Okay. Why? Why is that important? Like, who cares?
Yeah, I would say to me that's really important because you shift from being a company grade officer to a field grade officer, meaning your level of scope and understanding of the situation and what your responsibilities are that much greater. And so I think there's a lot that comes into it to be able to distinguish yourself amongst one of the best, to be able to achieve that rank, to be selected for the rank, and to be able to show the excellence in arms that you've been able to master to be able to lead at that level.
That's a good answer. Hope anyone that listens interviews you down the road. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
I heard that live, so I'm going with that person. Hmm. All right. And then how many more years do you think you have?
Every time I give the same answer, Lord willing, I'm not sure. We plan and God laughs. I have an idea, I have a plan, but I'm flexible, more flexible than ever. So I've done 7. Obviously, 20 is retiring. I think based off of discussions with my husband and I, we realized that that 20 most likely is not going to come full active duty. I think at some point I will want to take a step back and go into the reservists and be able to finish up some time there, which is just as admirable, just looks very different. And I think when you prioritize a family or you prioritize your spouse's job or location or and not being able to move as much, even just other things, sometimes you have to shift and make the decision. So when I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm not sure. I have 2 years left in my current job that I'm in right now, and then I'll have some freedom and flexibility of movement. And it kind of depends. At that point, I'll be in for about 9 years. I'm at the halfway mark. And for example, if they offer me and my husband to go to Japan, that may not be something that we're interested in doing based off of our family situation, time,
Sure.
location, all these things. But you just don't
Yeah.
know till you get there. And so allow myself to say, Lord, like I am in this role because you have put me here. You have called the Marine Corps to my heart, and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. If any of those things change, where Lord, you tell me to redirect my path, or is that something else, is something I need to do? I want to have the ability to listen and not be married to my plan. Similar to sport. I did not plan when I announced retirement. That was not fully planned. It actually happened, and I could feel the conviction on my heart. and I was like, it's time. And it just
Hmm.
like happened. I could kind of feel it coming, but out loud and verbally, I was like, no, I'm committed till the games. Like until the games happen and my name is not called, which isn't gonna happen for another week, by the way. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm staying in the fight. And I finished Olympic team trials and I just felt that conviction in my heart. And I was like, I'm not supposed to be continuing. And so allowing yourself time and space and the ability to do it while also having a plan. I need to provide for my family. I need to have a job. I need to put, meal this stuff on the table. But having enough freedom and flexibility of saying, hey, Lord, when you call or you throw something, I want to be able to answer and be able to adjust. But for now, like I said, I love the military. It was never something I expected to do when I was growing up. And I've been in it this long. So I'm getting something out of it.
Everybody enters different seasons of their lives, right? And so I'm guessing. So I know bobsled. It's force equals mass times acceleration, right? It's maximum force pushing on that sled to get it going, and then there's technique involved, obviously, in guiding it. So were you, I don't know, center fielder maybe in softball,
It was middle infield.
middle infield? So you got to be quick, right? And leverage comes from tall people. Do we have that?
5'7", hip twerk.
Gotcha. So big front squat, good 40 time, good fly 10 time, got to be really, really powerful. How do you go from softball to a winter Olympic sport from Indiana? How did that season occur? How did that change happen?
Yeah, I would say people get really caught up on where you're from. I would say kind of throw that out the window because most people don't even adapt bobsledding or come to bobsledding until post-college era. So even the Jamaican bobsled team, they're able to figure out a way. But I think, yeah, Indiana had nothing to really do with it. It was more the Lord introduced me to a bobsledder that played softball at the same school that I did. So Alana Myers Taylor, she was a softball player from George Washington University. The Lord had put her in my line of sight and in my path to where I was very interested in the things that she was doing. And so I think how that really came about was those principles. My heart's beating a little bit faster. The butterflies are going a little bit more when I'm hearing her talk and speak about bobsled and what it means to, be a part of a sport where you're not going to make a lot of money. You're not going to be famous, but you're going to travel the world. You're going to do it in extreme temperatures. And when you fail, oh, by the way, you fell on your head and you're going to crash and you're going to get whiplash and you're going to back out. And the sport's not made for everybody. You got to be tough and resilient, but also like brilliant in the basics of like memorizing tracks from all different the worlds and making split time decisions. For me, I was like, yeah. And for other people, right? It's that Olympic dream carrot that they jiggle in front of you and they don't actually love the sport. For me, I love the sport. For me, I would still continue to compete just in the sport because I love it. Like I miss the sport. I honestly could care less about the games. That's a nice to have. It's a sport that I crave and I love so much. But it got to the point where the injuries are too great, that the time consuming was just out of this world, and the financial, implications were just something that I was just like, I can't be done anymore." So, I think the way anyone comes into anything and grows to love it, how does this happen? It's being ready and adaptable. It's being maybe not the most talented, but the hardest worker that uh, you're willing and able to take what you have and work the best with it and see what happens. And ultimately, and my true belief is it's the Lord's calling of you, and you need to be able to listen. And when He puts something in front of you, take advantage of it and trust Him in the process that there's a plan and there's a reason why that's being shown to you. And so anyone that comes in the bobsled community, we're very tight, we're very small, but we're looking for some of the best athletes, but athletes that don't have ego, athletes that have the ability to suffer in tough circumstances and want to continue to persevere. And that's not for all athletes. Trust me, you will not be comfortable. You will not be doing it for the fame and glory. You're going to be doing it because you love the sport and you have a chance to be the best at something that you're looking to improve even a hundredth of a second at. So for me, that did it for me. For others, it doesn't, which is fine. And so I think it's again seeing opportunity, going with it, and having minimal expectations, but allowing yourself to just give it all you have.
I love that. There's a number of things there. A lot of sports people never even heard of or think about until later, right? Most schools are not even offered. The jiu-jitsu world is exploding. Most adults
Mhm.
weren't doing it. If you go to CrossFit gyms, they never heard of snatch and clean and jerk. Now CrossFit made the Olympic lifts a lot more popular. My daughter, she played soccer, and though she was good in high school, wasn't spectacular. She wasn't playing in college, and going into her fourth year as an aerospace engineer of all things at Alabama. She's home on break a while back, and she could suffer well and was coachable. My wife was like, you're pretty good at rowing on that erg machine. You might want to think about looking into that some more. And she was kind of like interested and found a little rowing club at Eagle Creek, if you remember where that is, in Indianapolis. And so she went and took some classes there with some teams, and then goes back in the fall and walks on Alabama's rowing team and makes it. And there was never like a calling on her heart, but she was in a time and place where she wanted something physical again, and her mechanics, her body lent her well to it. But she started. Sometimes you'll learn to love things you never even heard of, right? And it shows up. And when you say, like you mentioned earlier, how you're a product of your environment, you probably wouldn't have heard about bobsled very much, except for that one lady on your team that was also, the bobsledder. So I think having that open mind and heart to seeing where either Jesus is taking you or the world's taking you or where this new path could be opens a lot more doors than most people would think about. So being able to do that's got to be a ton of fun, for you to continue your athletic career, which you were doing in the military. You have to be an athlete there, but also, on the U.S. team. So that's amazing. That's awesome. I love that. I know everything is got to be so. And I want to make sure you guys are on time and stuff, right? So I don't want to keep you too long. And I'm having a great time just talking about whatever and learning more about you. So I'm really enjoying it. So right at the bat, I want to make sure I say that. But I just a few more rapid fire questions, and some of them aren't even on there that I may have practiced with. But how many pull-ups can you do? 12. 12 dead hang pull-ups, right?
That's what's asked of us. That's the perfect score, and I think you train to that as well. Pull-ups have evolved over time, especially for women. When I started, it was a timed hang. And then the max score was 7, 10, 11, and now it's about 12. And so you train to that, and sometimes you're like, I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but you figure it out. So the men have to do 23. The women max for my age group is 12. That's the highest it'll get, and that's what we train to. So it's pretty interesting how you find a way.
Some keys to success is one is just having a standard and then always raising it. So that's going to happen over time, no matter what. Like, not for nothing, and I'm not trying to be weird, but if we're winning beauty pageants and we don't go to boot camp and now you're an officer, and if you're around competitive people in the military or athletes are usually competitive, are like, come on, pretty girl, are you really an officer? What's going on? How do you, and people are always kidding and teasing each other, right? I have sons, I have daughters, we're constantly picking on each other, but how do you handle, like, early on, like, building credibility? You didn't go to boot camp, you went right to OCS, beauty pageant, book writer, athlete. People will always make just generalizations and judgments, right? And they're right. And they're right sometimes. They're wrong most of the time. How do you handle that? How do you do with that?
Yeah, I think my main thing is what you do outside of the military is your prerogative. And what I care about when I look at is like, how are you as a Marine and how are you as a leader? And then what I tell them is I'm like, hey, I don't care what you do outside of it, but I want you to do something that's better in yourself. I want you to compete in some capacity. I want you to do something that motivates you and gets you excited. So I tell my Marines, I'm like, what's your excuse? I've been able to do all of these things. Why can't you go to college? Why can't you have a family? Why can't you do whatever, get your real estate license or, whatever that thing is for you, what's your excuse? And so I do think people will make assumptions and they're free and care to doing that. I think being a holistic person and putting the military first doesn't mean that you can't excel in other places. And I think that there are times in life when I was deployed, all I was doing was being a Marine 24/7, training, having to give up bobsled stuff, right? But when I'm home and I have the capacity and I have the ability, when I'm getting home at 17:30, I get to pick what I do with the rest of my day. Now, whether I stay up all night playing video games, that's your, decision. Or if I'm here and I'm like, hey, I'm writing my book, I'm emailing and I'm scheduling calls, I'm doing things to better myself in a network and do all that stuff. That's your prerogative. And I think that people's perspective coming into it should have nothing to do with the things that they do outside of it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, listen, I can't change people's opinions. There are people that are going to see me or anyone else or the things that you do in and out of the Marine Corps and have something to say about it. My big thing is you can form whatever opinion that you want, but give someone a fair, honest assessment at what it is at their job that they do. And you'd be really surprised at that. And I think there are people that once they see how good of a Marine you are, or your competence, or your ability to lead and act, they're like, well, I thought you were going to be some fill in the blank. And it's like, well, why would you think that? And they're
Yeah,
like, oh, because of these things. And you're like, that doesn't relate whatsoever to any of these things that you have going on. And I think part of that is the unfortunately, whether it's good or bad, the ability for other people to learn and see more of you based off the internet and social media and all this kind of stuff. Normally, there was a really big work life separation where your men and women that maybe you worked with in the Marine Corps didn't know so much about you. And I have a pretty open life, and I'm like, hey, here it is, take it or leave it. But I also do that in a way that I'm hoping is impactful and motivational in the sense of like, again, what is your excuse? If I'm able to do all these things, why can't you? And trying to get to the highest level of discipline in these things. And the last thing I will say about the pageant, I'm very anti pageant, which is hilarious. But I say this in the sense of like, I don't like being judged on my body and my appearance. And I think there's a fine line. I don't like maybe someone looking at you and being like, oh, here's how you are and here's how you rank. My personal opinion. The pageant that I did, there was no swimsuit competition. There was no anything like that. It was a military specific competition that was, hey, what is your talent? So outside the military, what is it that you do? For me, it was bobsled. How are you impacting your local organization? So it was, what charity work are you doing? What extracurricular activities are you doing in outreach in our community to better our military community? So I got to talk a lot about the church and outreach with the population in San Diego and what we were doing with like the homelessness, what we were doing in the orphanage down in Tijuana, and was able to do these things. So it wasn't like, let me judge you based on how you look at all these things. It was kind of like, well, who are you outside the military and how are you doing these things and how are they overall impacting into it? So I'll just use that small caveat, but you would never know unless you asked. So that brings me to my very last point about what you said. Ask the question. You can have your preconceived notions, but that's because your brain wants to quickly make assumptions based off of what it does and compute and calculate things. But don't underestimate the ability to actually have a conversation with someone, give people the chance, and then form your own opinions after that.
yeah, it's huge. A number of things. One, when you hear pageant, all people will think of is what they know, right? And it's, Miss America, Miss USA, or whatever on TV,
Yeah.
because that's what it's synonymous with that word. And you're absolutely right in that when people see or hear or think things, they're constantly trying to draw correlations to other instances in their lives so that gives them context so they understand how to assess or analyze a situation or a person, right? California girl, blonde hair, blah, 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 right? You can make all sorts of things, right? So people do all the time where it's race, color, age, size, weight, the way a Marine's uniform is squared away, right? People are always assessing, and you're right. So looking at people and knowing that it's just a snapshot in time, and it doesn't at all give the total picture of that person. And there's times I'm sure you look like shit. I know I have, right? There's times that I'm squared away. There's times I'm well rested. Other times that I'm in a bad mood, right? And how people come across. So you're absolutely right. And one moment doesn't mean much, and it's overall totality of that person. So I totally agree with that. Also with the way the brain and the synapses fire like that. That's an excellent point. I didn't no idea that's what that pageant was about. Um, I figured it was just bathing suits and everybody loves world peace, right? That's gotta be. So that's interesting. Now you mentioned running, maybe a marathon. When you're running, what kind of music do you like to listen to?
Worship music.
When you're squatting, lifting something heavy,
A lot of times I actually were not listening to music recently. In the military gyms and stuff, I actually just have nothing. And it's pure motivational and internally. People are like, you're crazy. But
I've
yeah,
done that. Sometimes I've even had like the doors open to the gym. I run a gym also, and but the lights are off, so the natural sunlight keeps it light enough. But I'm just in there in silence in the darkness and lifting, kind of get in your own head. Now you mentioned you kind of burned out, not interested as much in traveling. But if you were to go on a vacation with you and your husband to a place you guys have never been, anything come to mind that you like to do?
I would love to go to New Zealand and Australia. I think I'm burnt out in the sense of like with my job and everything, I'm traveling all the time. That it's just not as glamorous as it used to be. But I do believe in seeing different parts of the world and cultures. I have been recently fascinated with New Zealand and the haka and all that, like
All
their
the All
rich.
Blacks.
Yeah, especially because my husband is a huge rugby fan, huge, huge, huge rugby fan. So um, being able to like see that I think would be a trip for him and I to just experience different culture. He hasn't been there, and different enough like food and people, but also very similar of different backgrounds of like their history with Britain and everything like that. So yeah, I always want to learn. I want to experience different people and places of the world. I will say that is the one thing that I am so blessed and fortunate with, is being able to see different cultures and people. That has continued to humble me, but also let me see all of God's beautiful creation. And that's something that I never want to stop. It's just the rate at which I do it so I can appreciate it more.
Sure. You know, since he's from, you said England. You know, I bet he's loves the Six Nations with rugby, and the All Blacks. My wife and I saw them in Chicago. They traveled, and we saw them, and so the haka is actually written out on the wall in my gym because of that. Awesome. You also mentioned you like things a little bit more low key now, to be a little bit more present. So if it's a Saturday and the weather, well, it's San Diego, so it's always sunny and 70. What's an activity, just you and your husband, that's low key and chill that you guys would like to do? Then instead of, I usually ask people about traveling on and bucket list, but if the bucket list is really, I want to be just present and quiet, what's an activity you guys like?
We love going and like hiking or exploring different parts of San Diego. So, like whether it's Torrey Pines or there's like a Potato Chip Rock or different ocean meets like beach slash mountain terrain, and actually putting your phones away and just being present. That's something that we like. And then we're competitive. So, something as small as like, hey, we're gonna go play mini golf. Like him and I, that's like so fun for us because it's something we both are equally like, you know, that much better at than one another, but talking trash and competing and playing. But that's simple. You can show up, you can play for 30 minutes and leave. So any ability to get away from our phones, enjoy the nature and just be present, but also maybe find some small competitions here and there isn't the worst thing.
I think it's like there's a piece of land. Is it Cabrillo? Was a national site where they're like they're on lookout for ships coming in. It's a national historic site or national park right there between Coronado and San Diego. My wife and I checked out. I can't remember. I'll have to look in that. How about a sports movie that you like?
Ooh, there's not many sports movies I dislike. Obviously, like Miracle is like an OG one, and I've been in Lake Placid for so long, so that's always like a fun fact that I tell people is like I've been there of where Miracle was and where that occurred and the significance not just in sport but in history.
Awesome. What's a favorite sport to watch on TV?
Ooh, I have to go with Bobsled. I mean, obviously, I say that because no one's expecting it. I love watching it. Right now, I don't miss anything. Every weekend, I'm tuned in and looking at what's happening.
How about favorite athlete to watch, either alive or dead?
Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, she is a Olympic track runner. She competed in the hurdles and then the 400. She's absolutely incredible, a really strong Christian athlete, and I just love watching her excel. She's broken her own record however many times. She's incredible.
Awesome. You have a book you could recommend?
The Bible. So, other than the Bible, other than my book, because it's a 12-minute read, I would say I am big into military history. So, some people, it kind of still surprises me that they haven't heard of Lone Survivor. I think that's like a great story of just great resiliency and overcoming tough obstacles and things that happen. So, I know more and more as the years go on. It's older and older. Yes, it's a movie, but there's something about reading the book and understanding that operation and what comes with it.
Awesome. This could be a real life person or fictional. You have a favorite superhero?
Actually, I don't watch any of the Marvel stuff, which is, like, so funny. So I guess if I would have to say something, the only things that I've saw was either Black Panther or Wonder Woman. Those are, like, the only 2 things that I've, like, seen, so
Sure.
maybe one of them.
Some people say it's a coach. Some people say it's a parent. Some people will say like, I don't know, Luke Skywalker. Who knows? How about a villain? Is there a villain that you like?
Nothing that comes to my mind.
That's okay. That happens.
Yeah, nothing that comes to my mind.
What's your favorite lift in the gym?
I have a love-hate relationship with power clean. I have a love-hate relationship with power cleans. I love it because not a lot of people can do it, and it's very impressive to be able to lift from floor to up to your shoulders and be able to move and explode. But Oftentimes it'll leave marks and leave a distaste in my mouth when you
Right.
hit it versus when you don't versus a bad rep. But yeah, I think there's something about the power and being able to be that explosive that is it's just fun when you get it right.
One of the Olympic coaches I worked with characterized power clean or clean and jerk as MMA and snatch as ballet. I don't know if it's how true it is, but you can get that, clean and jerking weight. There's a bit of violence involved, right? So I totally understand what you're saying. Do you have a favorite quote?
Yeah, obviously, I think twofold. My favorite Bible verse is Joshua 1:9, which talks about not being afraid and discouraged, but being bold and courageous in all that you do. That's ultimately my favorite Bible verse. I write that all the time on my signature. But then my favorite quote comes from Travis Manion, and that's "If not you, then who?" Who is a military a Marine that was killed in overseas, but the concept of if you don't do it, then who is? And I think that's a really good reflection or reminder.
My wife will love you. She likes that Joshua quote, and she's big on Travis Manion. We support his foundation. We done his workouts. So yeah, big fans, big fans. Where can people find you?
You can find me, making it a little bit harder, but you can only find me on 2 places. LinkedIn, because 'cause I'm now almost 30 and I'm mature, and so I have LinkedIn, and I'm actually having so much more fun with LinkedIn, and I think it's a great platform everyone should have. And then 2, on, Instagram, riley.tjack. There's only one of me. You won't find me anywhere else. Not on TikTok, not on Facebook, not anywhere, so if you see any of that, it's not me. I have to repeatedly say that, but please get in contact with me on either of those. I love to be able to connect with people and be a connector if there's anything I can do or help or lead you in the right direction or talk more about bobsled or military or whatever it is. I feel like that's a blessing that I want to be able to share with other people.
Beautiful, beautiful. Riley, I loved having you on today. I love learning more about you, and I was already impressed before meeting and talking, and was able to learn things and just enjoyed our fellowship and what you were able to share. So it's been quite a gift, and I'm very, very grateful for it. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
For those also want to reach out to us, keep doing what you're doing. Info at athlete-builder.com. Remember, we are powered by the AEA Institute and the Mental Edge Academy. So reach out to me about those things. Until next time, Riley, love having you on, and everybody else, we'll see you.